Hello, and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While, a show in which I chat with authentic, heart centered experts about interesting topics to spark, inspire, and motivate personal and professional change. And I'm your host, Linda Bucher, and today's topic is Unlock Your Thinking to Unlock Your Future. And this conversation is worth your while if you've imagined your best life and you've done a lot to have it, but you know that there's more. Except it's elusive, it's just beyond your reach. But you know you're ready for the real stuff because you know in your heart that you need to bring the best of you forward in order to make the big, beautiful, positive ripples that only you can make. So today we're going to share why unlocking your thinking is a requirement and a responsibility of leadership. And then we're going to share how to do it. But before we get started, it's important to let you know that this podcast, Conversations Worth Your While, has a greater purpose. I believe that each of us has unique gifts to share with the world, and that you are here to make big, beautiful, positive ripples that no one else can make. I'm here because my gift is lighting the way for that to happen. And this show is one of the ways that I light the way through informative conversations with heart centered guest experts. At the heart of everything I do, I'm not only a ripple maker, I'm a servant leader. Whether I wear the hat of master coach, mindset mentor, speaker, show host, author, or MBA, my expertise lies in synthesizing my experience, skills, and talents to coach, lead, mentor, and teach. But speaking of ripple makers, today I have the pleasure of being joined by Lisa Arie of Vista Caballo. And Lisa is making big, beautiful, positive ripples in a very unique way. Vista Caballo equips leaders to unlock their thinking so they can unlock their future and ultimately be part of raising the level of human consciousness and healing our planet. So, hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Linda. It's a pleasure.
So, would you tell us a little bit more about who you serve, how you're making these big, beautiful, positive ripples, and why today's topic of unlocking your thinking to unlock your future is worth your while to chat about with us today?
Sure, I'd love to share that. So, we love to work with mission driven companies who are looking to ignite transformation
Mm,
on the planet.
mm.
That's who we're serving.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, good. So let's move right into it. So once again, audience, you are here because you have imagined your best life and you've come far. You've done a lot to help yourself grow and evolve. But you can feel it because I know I feel it too. We have this in common, like, oh, there's something even bigger out there. If we would just heed the call and if we just could have some clarity on what the heck it is, because some of us know that we're here for something bigger than us. I feel that way. Lisa, I know you feel that way. And so today we thought we'd talk a little bit about leadership. Now, not everybody identifies as a leader, but we're all leading in some type of a way, right? And some of us are in a leadership position. So if you've raised your hand to be a leader, and you intend to make a positive impact on humanity, on the planet, then unlocking your thinking is not only a requirement, it's a responsibility. Lisa, I'm going to let you give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree with that, Linda. I think it's about, like you say, those of us that have raised our hands. Um, it is a huge responsibility. And so the very best thing we can do is to equip ourselves so that we can meet that responsibility at every level. And of course, we don't know what all the levels are because we are pioneers. We're
Mm,
breaking new ground. So we
mm,
don't know what's going to meet us. So, how do we equip ourselves to be our best in those moments so that we can continue to not only lead ourselves forward and challenge ourselves about what's possible, but then to create ways for those that want to follow and also have that impact? How can we encourage that in them? So again, it's, we want to ignite that transformation, but then we also want to unlock that performance. And
mm.
we can all learn different skills, but this is about learning how we operate as human beings. That's what makes it transformational.
That's absolutely true. It's not in traditional leadership, and I've done some wonderful podcasts with people who are experts in leadership. They're experts a lot in the cerebral side of leadership. What traditionally all this leadership development that's happening and has been happening when I worked in the corporate world, and it's ultimately not there. This is not a thing. They don't think about it. I haven't heard it or seen it in any of the curriculum where you're unlocking your thinking. It's really about, here's how you become a better leader. Here's how you communicate, like the pragmatic type skills, which are really good tools. They're very important tools. If I were going to build a building, I would need a screwdriver and I would need a hammer, right? I would need those tools. They're very important. But what I really need is the blueprints. I really need to, have a deeper level understanding of not, just how it works, but why it should be designed this way, why my leadership should be designed this way, and how that helps me become a true servant leader, which is really what we're talking about, a servant leadership, because we're talking about serving the planet and serving humanity and healing. And so that's something that's really ignored in many leadership development. I don't want to say all, but many leadership development programs today.
Yeah, and again, I just want to pick up on the thread that you put down, the beautiful thread that you put down, that at the end of the day, as leaders, we're human. So let's just start with the foundation, and let's just be the best humans we can be. So it's almost like there was a period there where we sort of jumped over that. There was, yeah, okay, we acknowledge that we're humans, but let's just jump right into, what do I need to develop myself as a leader? And what we're saying here instead is, what do I need to develop myself to be my greatest human? And then, if I'm really fortunate, I get to lead others to be their best human selves. And as you say, to serve each other, to serve humanity, to serve the planet, to serve all living creatures. So we're each doing that in our own way. And again, the premise is, we're going to be coming up against our own human selves. So yes, we're going to be coming up against lots of challenges in the world, and our world changes rapidly. But really what we come up against first and foremost is our own human self. Let's learn how to navigate that moment. And then you will unlock your freedom, your future, your joy, your passion, and ignite everyone around you to do the same thing.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. The traditional leadership doesn't take into account the emotional shrapnel that we're walking around with. That whatever position you hold, wherever you are, that we've all got things that maybe we're really successfully coping with, but we haven't actually healed. And so unlocking our thinking is the beginning of healing. It's really how we move in, be more, looking at ourselves at a deeper level as humans. When we have this much greater understanding of who we are, how our thinking is getting in the way, how we haven't healed. And when we do finally heal, then the person we show up as is a very different human. I know I was, when I went through that personal transformation, I came out the other side a whole different human. The human that came out was so much easier to love. I gotta tell you, without all that baloney and all that, soul shrapnel and, that was involved, previous to that. And so I love that you brought up that we have to heal as humans first in order to even be a good leader. And then another thing that you kind of touched on is, then once you do that, it's upstream of the leadership is you are then living a fulfilling life. You're doing something that feels important, that it matters, it's aligned with who you are. And that's where, when I first transformed, that was my reason. It was selfish. I was just like, I don't know what life I'm meant to be living, but it's not that one. What is it? I need to learn and grow, because I know there's something bigger in store for me. And I had no idea how big it was. I So it was selfish. I was like, I just want to live a fulfilled life and I want to be in a career that lights me up like a Christmas tree. And I did. I did do that. And that was the next step, but it wasn't the last step because that evolution needed to happen in order for me to get to the place I am now as a servant leader and go, holy crap, I was supposed to do all that because I'm supposed to, like, help heal the world in whatever way I can by making my ripples. So it's really, it's not where you start at like, oh, I meant to help and heal the world. You might not start there. You might just be like feeling there's like something more and I don't know what it is, right? What's your experience with that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you saw me nodding, nodding, smiling, smiling. Absolutely. I mean, it seems to be a very normal trajectory. Maybe that's just what we all have to go through to develop the right muscles in the right place at the right time until we get to really to that sort of epiphany, if you will, of consciousness where we look out and say, oh, wait a minute. It's not about survival. It's not about me and my life. It's about all of us and life. And
Mm-hmm.
how are we living life? Not how we are achieving things,
Yeah.
but how are we living our best life? Are we living our best life? And if not, why not? And that brings us back to the sort of the topic of this conversation. The why not is usually locked in our thinking, in our subconscious thinking,
Mm-hmm.
which I know I wasn't aware of. I mean, I thought I was thinking, and I was. I was, but I did not realize that, depending on which study you're looking at, we're only using 5 to 3% of our conscious thinking.
Yeah.
So let's just look at that equation. So we're here to transform the world. We want to be our best selves, but I'm only using this much of my thinking. It really is like trying to drive the bus from the back of the bus. None of us would do that. So once you become aware of it, then the question is, oh my gosh, now what am I going to do about it?
Right.
How do I access that rich, rich subconscious world where all of the thinking and decision making goes on? And
Mm.
how do I bring that to a conscious state? So, so many times it's like, we need additional resources to go learn additional things, to go learn new skills. And what our discovery was the resources are all in here. In here.
Yeah.
We have all the
Myself.
resources. We just need the key to unlock those resources. And that's what we love to put in people's hands.
Right. So the key is to unlock the resources we have at the subconscious level, to unlock the thinking, the thought patterns, the belief systems that we've been operating under our whole lives. Because everything we learn in all of our training and development is going into that 3 to 5% of the conscious. Oh, we can consciously use these tools. But it's such a small part, which is why we really need to go within. So becoming aware. So let's talk about this unlocking. Like, let's get the keys to the castle here, right? So how do we unlock our thinking, right? Awareness is first. Just being aware. Just this is probably a huge point of awareness you just brought up. Only 3 to 5% of our thinking is at the conscious level. And all the other thinking is the way thinking works is that our thoughts are driving our emotions, and our emotions are causing our actions, are affecting our actions, and our actions are what get us results. If you don't like the results you got to work it backwards. You got to be like, okay, what actions would I need to get the results? How would I need to feel in order to take those actions? What would I need to think in order to be able to feel that way? But if when you're working backwards, that thought doesn't even make sense with you, that means there's some subconscious stuff going on, some obstacles in there that aren't allowing you to have these new thought patterns. And that's actually, on a little tangent, why I don't like positive affirmations, because your brain argues with them, so they're not going to work anyway. So we really need to bring these subconscious things up to the conscious. So we have to learn about how our thinking affects our results, which I just kind of went through super quickly. And I'd love if you would just share a little bit more on that, given your expertise.
Yeah. So again, I want to just pick up on that thread because it's such a good point. first we have to understand the concept of what we're talking about here. So we can learn specific skills. But what happens when we're in a moment and the playbook doesn't work? We can look to just recently and through the pandemic. That wasn't expected. Or I don't know, some people thought it was. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, what do we do when the playbook runs out? That's the point we're talking about. If we equip ourselves with our own awareness, if we spend our time and energy discovering the brilliance of this incredible human mechanism, that's how we can meet and step over any edge. And that's where we want to go, right? This is where we want the transformers to be able to go. No matter what shows up, to be able to look at it and say, okay, I got this, and to be able to move forward. So how we do, I mean, for us, you know, when I became really fascinated with it, when I had this realization, I had my own personal moment of epiphany, where I faced a pretty big edge, that came in the form of my own mortality and facing that. And okay, there was no information for how to meet a moment like that. And that's where I became aware that how I was operating. I was operating on automatic. Once I had that awareness, and then I became aware of like, well, what's life like off of automatic? I became fascinated with that. And that's actually what created Vistic Bio. So we could give people that experience of what it feels like to live and lead off of automatic. And then if they like it, they get to take it home. So that's what we're talking about here. And we've created, you know, the how, when you say, but how do we do this? Well, like I say, number one is awareness, right? You have to be willing, you have to be ready, you have to be aware, and then you have to be equipped. So for us here, we've got different things that we can equip you with so that you can access that level of thinking. You can do it on demand, online. You can immerse yourself in experiential. It just depends on your learning style and how deep you want to go, how quickly. But those first three is, once you have that awareness of what and how am I, who am I off of automatic, that's the key. That's the first key. Once you turn that, you know, the right teachings will come to you. Absolutely, they will. And then it's a wonderful journey.
It sure is. It's so funny because I really know nothing about your coaching at all, but I'm like, oh yeah, I do that too. It's the parallels are very beautiful in that I absolutely believe that awareness is number one, and awareness is about discovering your true self. Because before I, you know, kind of woke up into my true self, and even I never asked myself, who am I and what do I want? I just never asked. So that's that autopilot that you're talking about. And my autopilot was basically living on conditioning. However, I had been conditioned. That's why I found myself, you know, you're climbing the corporate ladder and I get to the top. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong building. You know, this is not where I don't even want to be here. Why am I climbing this for 25 years? This is not me, you know, it's just who I thought I was, which is the product of all of that conditioning and that subconscious thinking that, especially, I mean, I don't know what percentage we get when before we're 25, before our brains are fully formed, but I got to think it's a big giant percentage. It's really informing all my decisions up until I decided to take the initiative to throw away the roles and responsibilities and conditioning. You know, I still lived them until I figured it out, but then said, okay, for me to discover what's next, for me to be able to become the leader that I feel, because I'm like, oh, there's something big and it's around the corner. If I could see it, I'd do it, but I just don't know what it is. But in order for me to do that, I had to go within. I had to discover, who am I now? What's important to me? But not just what, more importantly, why. That's what the answers are. It's in the why. Why is that important to me? Why am I discovered I was a freedom junkie. Never knew I was a freedom junkie. Like, I'm a freedom junkie, but like, why? You know, what lights me up about this feeling of feeling free? Like that's my motivation. That's my biggest motivation to quit the corporate world and, you know, go to school and become a coach. you never know where it's going to take you, but once you discover yourself, you'll discover so much. You discover these whys, and that must have been shoved down, and that's at some subconscious level as well. So not only are there things in our subconscious that are thought patterns and belief systems that are not serving us, there's also the answers that are somewhere inside us. So we've got to pull those out. Now, in my experience with my clients, that when we pull those out, they come out covered in schmutz, and then we got to do the schmutz removal service, get rid of the schmutz. But at least that's how we have access to it, by asking the right questions and pulling out the puzzle pieces, and like, oh, came out covered in schmutz. Good. Now we have an opportunity to discover what came from that subconscious level. And because we put it right on the table, and now we can deal with it. And now with my coaching, it's, I'm sitting and talking with people, but I know Vistica Bio is doing this work in a very unique way. And I would love if you would comment and then also share how Vistica Bio is doing this work.
Well, we started our work experientially. To me, I feel like experiential learning is the most profound, powerful learning. And so we work with horses, and we have our Discovery Center here. It's 160 acres in Southwest Colorado. And you come and you immerse in an experience with the horses. So again, the brain has two filters, safe and not safe. And so anything that's not familiar is going to be put in the not safe category. And guess what? We want to break brand new ground in our consciousness and on our planet. So that would probably be put in the not safe category until it becomes familiar, which is why we're doing what we're doing, so that for generations to come, it's going to be considered safe. So for right now, our best first step was, let's create simulators, living simulators, where you can come and immerse in an experience and actually feel what it feels like to consider a different way of being. And once your brain sees that it's safe, then it will consider making that part of the new automatic, if you will. And that's how we do that transformation. And then from that, what we did was, once we saw the success of it, I asked my husband a very expensive question one morning. I said, well, everyone needs this. Everyone on the planet needs it. How do we get this to everybody? That was the expensive question. And we did. It was a 7 to 10 year study and validation. And we worked with a lot of behavioral scientists and molecular brain biologists and organizational psychologists to really diagnose what happens inside us when we have that epiphany and we realize we are safe. We have that epiphany where we realize we can operate from a place of thriving and fulfillment, and our bottom lines can still be safe.
Right.
What happens inside of us? And so we identified that, we diagnosed and identified it, and then validated it, and then put it onto an online platform so that anyone in the world can access it. So there's two different ways that you can get into it. Like, say, depending on where you are, if you're ready to go right now and you can't wait another moment, then you may want to go ahead and access the online experience. So that's what we did to help open this up out onto the planet.
Yeah. And it is beautiful work. I've actually been in 2 or 3 different workshops with horses. You don't get on the horses. You just are in the ring with the horses, in the pen with the horses, where I transformed, and some things came from my subconscious up to my level of awareness that I didn't even know were there, that through the work with the horses, I finally had access to, that I'm not even sure I could have if it was just the cerebral part of coaching. So it was pretty darn amazing. And also learning how to harness my natural energy states, of like, because I'm like the big shiny 500 watts when I'm around people, and when I'm around horses, and the horses they do stuff when they're around. They get like, woo, they like have a party. And then I learned how to bring my energy down, into more of a grounded state, and then how the horse reacts when I did that. It's like, it's crazy. I had no idea, I've heard of the words like, oh, we all have our own human energy, but until I was in that capacity, I didn't really understand it until I saw it. And I was like, wow. And then that was a level of understanding I never had. And I never would have gotten that if it weren't for the work with the horses, because I got to experience it. This experiential learning was so huge for me. I absolutely adored it. And so I know it's really important work that we're doing in this world. You and I are giving making our ripples in our different ways. And I can vouch for the fact that, if you do this immersive work with horses, you can get out of your own way even more profoundly to be able to get those gifts out to the world and to be a much better, more efficient leader, which again, down the road, leaders, you'll recognize you're called for something even greater than the leadership of whatever organization you're in. But because that's really why we're here. So we're here to then pay it forward, because when you are operating at your grounded, aligned, purposeful, evolving self, then you are an example for others. You are a magnet for others like you, and you will then be in the right place to pay it forward, help other people to get to where you've gotten, knowing you're still evolving, and to really be helping the planet in an important way.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Lisa, I want to thank you so much for being on Conversations Worth Your While. And if someone would like to learn more about the work of Vistica Bio, or talk to you, or, like understand, like, oh, what immersive, wait, that really appeals to me, what can they do?
Please go to our website, which is visticabio.com. You can, if you want to learn a little bit more, you can. Or if you just know, yes, that, I just want to speak straight to the proverbial horse's mouth, just email me. It's lisa@visticabio.com. And I'm happy to speak with you and share what I've learned and share what we know now, and happy to help you in any way we can.
Well, thank you. And I'll be sure to include that information in this episode's description. So, once again, I'm Linda Bucher, lighting the way for ripple makers to learn, grow, thrive, and affect a positive change in the world. And I'd like to thank Lisa Arie of Vistica Bio for being with us today and sharing her incredible insights. And I also would like to thank you, our devoted listener, for sharing your time with us today. So until next time, please subscribe and make sure that you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.